Hi, good afternoon. We are going to go ahead and get started with our weekly Family Connections time. Today we're going to be talking about some information related to our elementary schools program. So we have some panelists that are our guests. We have Katie Cade. She is our principal of the intermediate school, and Kanita Rhodes, our principal of the primary. Courtney Boyd is our elementary STEM and math coordinator, and Valerie Morris is our public information officer. Jesus Gomez is our director of equity and inclusion. He will probably be joining us shortly. And I am Rachel McLean. I'm the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning. And so we are just going to jump right in. We've had a series of questions that we've been receiving from parents over the past couple of weeks and wanted to get these folks on our Family Connection time to give you some answers. If you have questions that may come up that we are not answering, or you need additional information, if you will just pop that information into the chat or the Q&A, we will be monitoring that and we'll catch as many of those as possible before the end of the time together today. We'll shoot to be finished by 5:30, and we'll just go ahead and get started. So Katie and Kanita, we've had some questions from parents about what happens when their student is sent home from quarantine. And so I'll let you ladies describe what that process is on your campus.
Okay, you want me to go first, Kanita? Okay, so for my campus, if your child is sent home to quarantine, if they're actually sick, that was some confusion that we had early on. If they're actually sick and they're unable to do their work, that's okay. They'll just be counted absent just like they would on a regular year. If they are just in quarantine because maybe they were a close contact, or maybe they did test positive, but they're feeling okay to do their work, what we would like for them to do is we provided them with Chromebooks. And at school every day in class, we're using those Chromebooks, and we use the Schoology platform every day in class. So the students should be very familiar with this because we use it at school every day. So they'll need to log in every day. The teacher will post, for my campus, we have Zooms where they can Zoom in and participate in class. And then in Schoology, there will be assignments for them every day. And so as long as they're logging in and doing that work and getting their work done every day, they'll be counted present just like they were on campus that day. And it keeps them from falling 2 weeks behind with their instruction.
That's the same with us. We want to make sure that parents are hooked up with Parent Square, because you can really get with the teacher right away so that the teacher can post those things in Schoology. The kids are familiar with that platform already. And so by just making sure that you contact the teacher to let her know, we'll get the kid on track as soon as possible so that they aren't counted absent if they're not too sick to do their work.
Okay. Valerie, we talk a lot about COVID and exposures. What percentage of our students are currently out with COVID?
Okay, so right now, actually, the numbers are a little bit lower than they were earlier today because we've had some recover. So we have about 0.5% of our overall population right now within Snyder ISD has tested positive for COVID and is at home. And then really between the primary and intermediate, we only have 2 students at primary and 1 student at intermediate. So we're doing really well there. That's just 0.2% is what we're estimating as far as those that actually have it right now. So overall in the school world, we're doing pretty well.
Awesome. Okay, so one of the questions we hear often is related to attendance. And Katie, you referenced it. So tell our parents how we are taking attendance for our virtual students. You're on mute. It's my favorite saying on Zoom meeting. You're on mute.
Is it working now? I think I'm off. Okay. So for an in-person kid, for them, they have to be there and we count them present just like normal. For a virtual student, the way we're required to take attendance for them is they have to show progress in all of their courses for the day. And so the teachers on my campus, usually they're in a pod of to up to 4 teachers. And so those teachers keep documentation and they check at the end of each day if those virtual kids completed all of their work for the day. And then that homeroom teacher will go back and give them credit for attendance. So you may see if it's within the first couple of days that they're still marked as absent, that teacher has up to 3 days to fix that. And so we're giving them time to go back and they look and make sure that the kids are doing their work. And then that's how they earn attendance credit virtually. If you ever have a question about one, it's like Kanita mentioned earlier, make sure you're on Parent Square. You can always shoot the teacher a message if you're questioning something. It is not as cut and dry as our face-to-face attendance. So sometimes if you're concerned and you think that your kid should have been counted present, you can shoot them a message and they can double check that for you. But it's always important to remember, just because they're logging on to their Zooms and Zooming, that doesn't necessarily mean they're getting counted present. They have to do their work for the day for all of their classes.
Yeah, and that is teacher assigned work. So we have parents that will just let their student get on, for instance, one of the programs that we have, an IXL or whatever, for a certain amount of time and say that they did work. And so it needs to be that specific work that the teacher does put in Schoology for them. Also, if you're checking on Skyward on your family access, make sure that you are looking at the attendance tab, because if you look under the calendar, it will still show that the student is unexcused. You actually have to go in to the attendance tab to see if that attendance has been changed.
Valerie, we have a link to the video that we made in Family Connections, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it talks about how to check attendance in Skyward. And unfortunately, it's not as, like Katie said, it's not as clear cut as like a face-to-face attendance. So we're working through our programs that help us do attendance in a normal world. And so it takes a little bit of an extra step when your child might be on quarantine, and to make sure that that absence was changed to a virtual present. And so Valerie, we can pop that into the chat. And that's a pretty helpful video that shows some examples. But like both Katie and Kanita said, definitely reach out to the child's teacher so that we can get accurate attendance. It's important because if a child misses too many days, we're still under Texas law of like retaining students, correct? Katie and Kanita. So we want to make sure our attendance records are accurate.
Correct. And we've got to see, we want to see that growth in the kids that are virtual, just like we do whenever they're in school. So we have got to see that academic growth as well. And the more days that they are not doing their work, the harder it is for those students to keep up and to progress.
So where can parents check to see if their students are that their work is being completed? Katie, Kanita, you're on mute.
I know. I was telling Katie she can go because she does a good job of answering that. Go ahead, Katie. You explain.
You may have some connection issues with Katie.
Okay.
So Kanita, if you want to check.
So the first place that I would look is in Schoology. Whenever you open up your students' Schoology, now she's going to restart. You should be able to see the assignments, and I'm assuming they have like a check mark or something. Is that right? If they completed or not, and then their actual grade will be in Skyward. But the teachers probably aren't syncing those grades to Skyward maybe about once a week. And
Right.
so, but Schoology is going to be the initial thing, because that's where every assignment is put is in Schoology. So if you need help navigating that, pretty sure there's a parent video out there for that to help you find your grades, but we're also here to help you with that as well.
So Valerie did post in the chat the link to the grades and the attendance video. So we have a couple of different resources for parents. One, that grades and attendance video shows you some actual examples of what you would be seeing. how to check your students' progress if they've completed their work. You can actually see grades in Schoology. The thing we always want to stress is that the official grade book is Skyward. And so that video shows the differences between Skyward and Schoology, but just parents checking in on their progress towards their students' work. Schoology is a great place, and then checking grades in Skyward. If we've had a question regarding how do you get your login for Skyward, you can get in touch with your campus, and they can give you that information, or I will post my email, and shoot me an email with your full your information and your child's information, and we can get that out to you. So there's my email. Okay, so Courtney, we have some students that are, I mean, obviously virtual instruction can be challenging, and we have some students that, you know, because of quarantine or whatever, have needing to be at home for an extended period of time. What are some of the ways that parents can support their students, and things that the district is doing, the campuses are doing to offer some additional support?
Sure, that's a great question, because we get that a lot, even from parents whose students are still coming in person. You know, we get this question all the time. So I kind of visited with Kanita and Katie this morning, just to get on the same page about all the different resources that both campuses are offering. And overall, both campuses, third grade up, as of this moment, are offering tutoring for their in-person kids. I know that at the intermediate school, those teachers are also offering tutoring for the virtual students. It's going to be a little bit more limited on, you know, on a scheduled basis. But you can always, I'll reiterate what they both said just a second ago, make sure that you're connected to Parent Square, and you're in contact with your child's teacher. It really is going to depend on the grade level, and kind of the content. And we talked earlier today about, you know, at the beginning of this, we had a lot of struggles with technology. All of the technology was new to a lot of our students. So if you're struggling with the technology aspect of it, feel free to reach out to your child's campus. There's designated virtual people on each campus that can help, even if they're not your child's you know, official teacher. You can always call the technology department. They've got people over there who are willing to help. So it really just depends. I don't know if Ms. Rhodes is going to talk here in a little bit about, this morning she talked about the reading at primary. The students will bring home their little skills card for their reading level, and those cards have several different activities that parents can utilize at home to work with their students at home if they're struggling. So there's a bunch of different options. I know at intermediate they have a section during the day that's a designated built-in tutoring time. And those teachers are letting their virtual students Zoom in for that tutoring time also during the day. So reach out to, you could even reach out to Katie or Kanita on Parent Square, or your child's teacher. There's several different ways we can definitely help regarding this situation.
Can I chime in on that? Are y'all able to hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like we have struggled to get our virtual students to Zoom in during their IE time. We have a lot of them that finish their regular classes and then they don't come back for IE time. And it's not just for kids that are struggling. We do it to push our kids, even our kids that are doing well. That's a scheduled time of the day. And so if your child is at home doing virtual school, I highly encourage them to Zoom in with their teachers during that time, because they can provide enrichment activities to push them even further along, even if they're not struggling.
Kanita, do you want to talk a little bit about those skill cards, and are we encouraging our parents to have their students continue to read at home or read with their students?
You bet. So our reading, all the parents know that the first thing that we have is our reading steps. And so our kids are encouraged to read about an hour a day. And so they get 30 minutes of that at school, And then we ask parents to allow 30 minutes at home for them to read. That's the first thing. The other thing, if you need more support from your teacher to help you with your student, they have their goal skill cards, which will actually tell you exactly what skill the student is working on so that they can move to the next level of their reading. There's also a home update that you can receive that will give you that information as well. What reading level they're on, if they're on grade level, are they behind, what skills are they missing to move on to the next level? Are they growing any at all? How much growth have they made over the past 4 months? And so all that information is really good on the reading side. The math side is we use our unit assessments. I found out that some of our teachers are, like Katie said earlier, I don't want to say hoarders, but that's what they are, is they hold on to those unit assessments, go over them with the kids, and they keep that so that they can spiral stuff back in to later assessments. And so we haven't really thought about sharing that information with parents. Some teachers were doing it anyway, but I think we are having those conversations with teachers at this time to help with that data piece for those parents that want to help their kids with math at home.
Okay. We've got a question that's come up in the chat for virtual students. Is there any way they can get books from the library?
You know, we haven't really thought about that. When we started school, we were keeping the campus shut down to all outside people, just trying to contain who all came into the building and who didn't. But that is definitely probably something that we need to address in the near future so that we can schedule times when those kiddos that do want to come up and shop for library books can. You know, we tried to offer a lot of online programs to help them read. We have our ARC bookshelf with tons of books, and then teachers are using Epic and Bookflix and all those other things online. But I understand there's nothing like a kid holding a real book to read. And so thanks for reminding us about that. Hopefully after Christmas, we can set up some schedule and share with you guys so that they can come in and shop for books.
I just posted our district librarian's email also. We do have a ton of digital books that are available for checkout. And Ms. Bragg can connect our students with those resources. But I agree, Kanita, having a book in hand is very important for some students and creating that engagement with the book. So it's a great thought. Katie, you're good?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about that either. I just assumed that they were using all the online resources for reading the books. But if that's something that somebody would like to do, I'm sure we could set that up.
Mm-hmm. You brought up a good point about the common assessments. So Courtney, we've seen some of our students and we understand, parents want their students to be successful. But when they're taking a common assessment and they're at home, what do we do with that data, and why is it important that we are seeing exactly what the student is able to do on their own?
So this is another thing that we've talked a lot about with our teachers at both campuses. There are a lot of teachers who've had students who have done some sort of virtual learning, whether, like Katie said earlier, they just go home for, a couple of days to quarantine. Or if you're choosing to do virtual learning, that's always that option too. So whenever we are doing these, what we call common assessments, or basically a unit assessment, we do these from second grade up for math and reading. And whenever the kids are doing these, we really, really want the kids to do them. And I know as a parent, it's very tempting, especially if you're at home with your child, to help them because you want them to make them have them make a good grade. But on the flip side of that, it's really hard for our teachers to really gauge, where your child is and how we need to build a plan to help them progress and move forward. So, we've talked a lot about encouraging our parents to make sure that the kids, log into their Zoom so the teachers can kind of proctor or moderate, just to make sure the kids, don't have any questions or, everything's working correctly. Because, for some of them, taking a unit assessment, especially in the younger grade levels, is new for them. And so we just want to make sure that they're, they have all the resources from their teacher that they need. But all of that data that we're collecting from the unit test really help us plan and, an individual plan for each student to see what they've mastered, what we need to go back and work on, and so forth. So if a parent is at home, helping them or doing the test for them or doing any of the work for them, it's really hard for our teachers to gauge, where we need to kind of shift that kid and what we need to do to make sure that they're successful.
And kind of along those same lines, we've introduced a MAP testing this year. And we had a beginning of the year MAP test, and we're coming up in January, we'll have a middle of the year MAP test. So what do we do with that data? And why is it important also that we get a good, accurate picture of the child?
So if you've had kids at primary or intermediate in the last couple of years, you've probably heard us say, they're taking an iReady test. So MAP is basically replacing the iReady assessment that we used to give. And MAP is just, it's given from kindergarten up. It's just an online little quick check just to see where the student is, and shows their growth over time. So like Dr. McLean just said, we've already done our beginning of year assessment back in September. In January, we'll do a middle of year assessment, and then we'll do one closer to the end of the school year, just to see the kids' progress over the school year. And it really gives us really good data and specific skills for math and reading, that the kids need help with. One thing we didn't talk about this morning is the MAP testing program actually talks to some of our online or our virtual resources like Pathblazer, for example. So whenever your student takes that MAP test, it automatically talks to that program and will assign your student the lessons that they need, that are on their level and that will help them progress throughout the year. So if a parent is doing the MAP test for the student, it's really not giving us an accurate depiction even those online lessons as well. So we'll have like you said earlier, our middle of the year assessment coming up in January, and hopefully that'll give us a little bit more information that we can also share with parents for those students who might be struggling. Also give us a good game plan.
Good.
And can I
Go
add?
ahead.
In PLCs today, this actually came up with my teachers, my RTI teachers that help students that are struggling use that Pathblazer program that we mentioned, and it assigns things based on MAP. And so they said that they have some kids that are frustrated and that it's too easy. And so that indicates to us that child didn't try hard on their MAP test because all the assignments are way below where they need to be. And so just talking to your kid about that test and how important it is to try your best, even when it gets hard, because those questions will get hard for them. And that's how it works. It'll get harder and harder, and then it'll get easier if they miss questions, and just encouraging them, even if it's hard, to just do their best, because if they don't try, then they're going to be getting assignments that are way too easy or boring for them. And so it works the other way as well. Don't help them with it, but also encourage them. They've got to do their best on that test so that we can help them.
Good. So, it sounds like we're talking a lot about testing, and there's some, a lot of conversations in our state about STAR testing in the spring. And we just want to reiterate, we're still responsible, STAR testing or no STAR testing, which at the current time, STAR testing is still in place. There's nothing that has been changed at the state level that would give us any indication that we would not be getting some data on our students in the spring. But we're still very concerned about making sure all of our students are ready and for the next grade level, and to be ready for the next grade level in the 21-22 school year. they have to master and understand the concepts of their current grade level. So we definitely want to continue and know where our students are and measuring what their understanding is, so that we're not providing holes or gaps that they have to, worry about in the future years. So Katie and Kanita, last few questions that we received from parents are regarding, the questions are regarding grading. And so one parent has asked that their child has no grades for the second 9 weeks in Skyward. So were grades posted somewhere else? We kind of hit on this a little bit earlier. Katie, I think you were having a little bit of internet connection. So you want to chime in here?
Okay, I did notice earlier this week when I was looking at some students' grades that we did have some missing, and I think my teachers, our Schoology platform that's where we assign the assignments, is supposed to speak to Skyward, and that's where you get the official student grade. And it wasn't syncing, and I don't know if my teachers, originally it was supposed to sync on its own, and there was just some confusion there. And so we've straightened that out, and I've talked to my teachers, and they're supposed to be syncing it regularly. If for some reason you've checked and you're still not able to see a grade, once again, you can message your teacher on Parent Square or me directly, and I'd be happy to look into it for you and figure out what's going on. But I think that's kind of what's been happening, is our teachers were thinking it was pushing over and it wasn't, and we've tried to fix that. So please let us know if it's still an issue.
That's the same way for my campus as well.
Okay. And Kanita, you referenced a little bit earlier about the unit assessments, and we've got a plan in place to get those out to parents if they want to look at how their student has performed on the common assessments or the unit assessments. The MAP test is another great tool that, especially once we hit this middle of the year data, that parents can see exactly areas that their students are needing to work on. We've had a question that my child is making A's in class. Her teacher says she is struggling. Most grades are homework grades or participation grades. How can we get a more accurate reflection of what the student can and cannot do?
Yep. So I'm hoping that that's not in third grade, because our assessments, our unit assessments, and the work that the kids do it's all pretty much aligned with what our expectation is with STAR. I mean, which is a grade level test. Second grade, their common assessments look a little bit different. Our reading common assessments, well, similar to third grade, it's kind of like a benchmark. It is not really aligned so much unit by unit like the math assessments are. And so a better gauge as to how your student is doing in reading are those skill cards, and then that home update from School Pace that the teacher should be sharing with you. And so if you're not getting those, reach out to your teacher and ask them where they are, because the student should have a copy of their skill card in their folder every day, and they should be working on it and know what their goals are to move them forward with reading. Math in second grade, the first few tests of math, the teachers read it to the students. They want to see if they actually know the math skills. They don't want it to be a reading test where the student struggles with reading, and that's the issue with their math assessment. And so starting with this next assessment that's coming, the students will actually be doing the unit test themselves. And so that unit test will actually be put into their grade. So ideally, yes, we would want their grade to reflect where they are academically by grade level, as on their grade. And with our standard report cards for kindergarten and first, that's very easy to do because it's based on the grade level standards. Sometimes with second and even going into third, that's not so easy because there is so much group work and group effort done in the classroom. So we're working to fix that. The main thing I would say is be in contact with your teacher and check your kid's backpack and look at those skill cards. And if you have questions that you're not getting answered from the teacher, then reach out to us. I answer things on Parent Square every day. And so we can help you as well.
One other thing I was going to add to that, even this morning, and I forgot, but especially for second grade, they, as first graders last year, they did take common assessments or unit assessments. The format of them was just a little bit different. The second grade unit assessments are very similar to the third grade that are aligned to STAR. So like Ms. Rhodes said just a little bit ago, the teachers kind of read them with them those first two. They've only taken 2 unit assessments for math. So, but they just want to make sure that the kids understand, the testing process because they've never seen a unit assessment like that before until they hit second grade. And so that gives the teacher an opportunity to make sure that, the kids are doing the work, showing their work, following along, staying on the same page, to where if the kids have questions or they feel like they're overwhelmed, then they can stop and say, okay, how do I do this again? Or what do I need to do here or whatever. So these first couple unit assessments, and they've done a lot of review these first couple of weeks of school, just, getting kids back into the routine of school. And so hopefully, especially after Christmas, the unit assessments will be a more accurate reflection of what the kid can actually do for themselves.
And I will just add, for my campus, those unit assessments are going to be key for you to be able to see how they're doing. If that's a question for my campus, we don't curve those grades. We don't weight our assessments any more than a class grade. So even if your student struggles with it, it's not going to fail them over one test. But I feel like, and Kenita and I had this conversation last year, it's important to give you that true grade on that assessment so you can see, is my kid truly, making an A, or is he or she struggling in math, or maybe it's just one unit in math. So those unit assessment grades for my level are very important.
Okay. Well, we are a little over time. We do have a couple of comments in the chat. We had one parent share that the public library is open and it's easy to get an account. So that's a community resource, but we definitely want to make sure that our campuses are available for all of our students. And so we'll look at how we can safely provide access, especially to families that are opting for virtual instruction because of not wanting to expose family members or so forth. And then another parent has asked, if my child misses a speech, is it considered an absence? And so I'm thinking that probably means like a Zoom class, like where the teacher is presenting. And Katie, Kenita, you guys want to answer that one really fast?
We don't look at that for our attendance purposes, but they are missing that, therapy that they need to progress with their speech. So it is important if they can attend that to get that, but I don't look at it for attendance.
Okay, that may be like a speech session. I'm sorry, I was thinking like a Zoom meeting, a speech.
Like their speech therapy.
Okay, I've got it, yes.
I think that's what she's asking.
Definitely wanting to provide those resources. So if you're unable to be in a speech session, we would like to work with you to reschedule that so that our students continue to progress forward. My last, I think we've caught everything in the chat. I definitely appreciate everybody's attendance this afternoon. Next week, we're going to be featuring our head of schools and some of our team of deans members from the junior high. And so junior highs, with our charter partner, they have a little bit of different practices that we want to share and make sure our parents are understanding. So if you happen to be a parent of a junior high student, please plan to join us again next week at either 12 or 5. And then this recording, as well as all of our previous recordings, are all available on our website. And we just want to continue to reach out to parents and encourage our parents to reach out to us. In this 2020 school year, the communication is critical between the school district and our parents so that we can all work together to provide the greatest opportunities for success for our students. So have a great evening. I appreciate everybody's attendance and hope to see everyone next week.